Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for March 7th through the 13th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so we have a very transformative week, as you might imagine. For those of you that know, we have a solar eclipse on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, really changing the old energies, our perspective of the old, getting rid of old energies, which then allows us to move into this new life path direction. So for you, it's specifically involving it's going to be right on the cusp, actually. It's going to be right on the cusp between your fourth house and your fifth house. But I think it's going to be pulling more on the fourth house side of it. So this is the house of home, of your roots, of your emotional body, and of health. Basically anything that you consider a foundation in your life. In your personal life too, for that matter. So this has been an area of focus. I think this has also been an area of releasing with Neptune in terms of, going into the unknown with it and allowing God to guide you into a new direction with that, and really access the spiritual inside motion and gut, which gives you that insight, which is Neptune in the fourth. But in either case, this eclipse is really suggesting that there might be some over or under extremes with this area of life, with those things, whether it's home, whether it's with health or what have you. So it's not about really rationally understanding it as much as it's spiritually understanding. In other words, seeing where there might be over or under extremes, and then through that there might be attachments to these areas in a sense. So the more you accept these areas of life for how they are, and this is the home family stuff, primarily, then it does help you come to that spiritual liberation, that spiritual freedom, which then propels you in a much more healthier sense towards your life path, which is shifting for you in terms of your legacy or your productive side or your career or anything that you consider that big picture in your life. This is the personal and the extra personal, right? Like work and career and the future. But we have to know where we're coming from to know where we're headed. Right, so that's a big part of this. Now, the other side of it is going to be that fifth house. And so there's been, over the past 2 years, this coming to balance with the over or under extremes with your self-expression, your creativity, your playfulness, whatever else might be either something you're interested in, is important to you, or something that you feel like is a true expression of yourself. So this energy is finishing up. We're going to have the South Node going into that fourth house now, but it's probably going to be pulling on this a little bit. So if you are seeing that, if you are feeling that, any type of over under extremes with that, again, the acceptance can really help liberate you there so you can move into this life path in a much more healthy sense. And there's still, just keep in mind, it's all very much in flux. Jupiter's retrograde, so there's a lot of things you're re-examining with the career, with the legacy or whatever, and that's good. You want to be experimental, try new things right now. It's really important. Now let's go and look at what this looks like in the transit graph, because a lot of the aspects this week are actually associated with this eclipse. Starting on Monday, the sun is going to be sextiling up to Pluto, suggesting that maybe from the previous weekend there's this new insight, this new shift, maybe about your values in life, which is Pluto in the second, towards your home and family or your health, which has been an area of focus for you, which has been the sun down here at the bottom of your chart. Now with that shift, and it's been a very spiritual time, I think, already. But with that shift, it's helping you set the stage for this eclipse. It's kind of getting that ball moving, and there could be this willingness to transform and change there, or an opportunity to transform and change, which could be very supportive. Now, the sun is going to be opposing up to Jupiter during all this, which isn't necessarily a tough aspect as much as it's just important to balance these two areas, the personal life with the extra personal, right? We can't know where we're going if we don't know where we're coming from, and vice versa. And we can't really have a career without having a good, strong personal life. So it's seeing them as one and the same and merging the two, because they are. It's just an illusion that we see them as oppositions. They're really one and the same thing, past and future. So here with the sun, you can really learn a bit, and continue to reflect on it. And if you are feeling any extremes with either of these, it's good to balance the two in that sense. Then Tuesday and Wednesday, that solar eclipse. It could be healing too, healing, going within. It's going to be conjoining up to Chiron. And then on Wednesday, we have some sign changes. We got the sun going into Pisces. So your focus, I think, is going to shift into more of the self-expression, the creativity, which especially for your Ophiuchuses already has been the case because your ruler, your modern ruler, recently shifted in here. But more prana, more life force from expressing yourself, again, in that balanced and healthy sense. Venus is actually going into Aquarius, so for whatever shifts from the eclipse, it's almost like you now enjoy more, perhaps, the home, the family, the past, the roots, the health, and that can be actually quite nice for the next few weeks to enjoy that. And this is actually a good placement for Venus to be in here at the bottom of the chart. Now, significantly, your ruler, Mars, is going into your sign, or into Scorpio, okay? But for all intents and purposes, your guys' first house. So it's coming out of a spiritual time, which has been Mars in the 12th in terms of asserting and directing, and really pursuing things in the more, transformative or deeper sense. But now Mars in the first, especially in your sign, is much, much easier to work with. And he's in dignity here. It's your ruler in the first. And although you guys have been perhaps assuming responsibility for about the past year or so with Saturn in the first, off and on, maybe the stronger, more mature approach to life, now there's motivation, there's drive, there's, the more assertive nature, which can be very, very nice for about the next month or so with Mars in the Scorpio. In fact, Mars is going to go retrograde and then go back into that 12th house of yours. So there are things to learn about it, but still, nonetheless, you've got this drive, you've got this motivation now going into these weeks. Now, with that, Thursday and Friday leading towards the weekend, we do have some more aspects involving this whole stellium we've got down here at the bottom of the chart, all these conjunctions. So one is that the sun's going to go over Chiron. So for you Ophiuchuses, I think this could be actually an illuminating time in terms of your identity, in terms of who you are, maybe more of self-expression in that sense. But for both of you, this awareness of maybe what is being healed about your true self, about your self-expression, and a willingness to heal that, which usually your signs are willing to do that, can help that energy flow, and you can learn a lot. And again, that rejuvenation can come as a result. Now, Mercury is going to be joining up to Neptune leading into the weekend also. So we've got this sort of uncertainty, or there can be an uncertainty. But the key with this is that it's a neutral aspect, and you can really tap into the willingness to go into the unknown, the willing uncertainty, and in that way it can become very relaxing, in fact. And so this is nothing new, and it's probably specifically involving your personal life in some sense, or your health, which has been the sun going over Neptune. But with Mercury here, it's a little bit more rational. So kind of allowing the rational mind to take on the more spiritual connotation, to let God guide you in this area can make it actually quite spiritually liberating. Now, Jupiter is going to be trending up to Pluto, which is actually both of your guys' modern day ruler as well. So you guys could be feeling maybe optimistic going into the weekend. Maybe Jupiter is retrograde, and this is the second aspect with this, but maybe on an internal level. But whatever it is, I think you guys are seeing the shifts. You're seeing what's possible with this life path in terms of the productive or the career stuff that is changing and shifting for you. So it's nice to have Pluto in such harmonious aspect to this eclipse and all these aspects right now. And so a willingness to change is, I think, definitely on the table, and that's going into next week. Then the last aspect of the week, on Friday, the sun is going to go over the south node. So again, there's an illumination of the over-under extremes of the spiritual side of acceptance and gratitude for your inner self, your inner child, your self-expression. And that, again, can help you balance those energies so you can move into this new life path of the big picture stuff that much more healthfully. All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, have an excellent week. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I'll see you all next week.